In 1956, a French explorer named Henri Lot crawled into a cave in the middle of the Sahara Desert. No water for miles, no civilization, nothing but sand and silence. And on the walls, he found this. That image is 8,000 years old. Henri Lot was so disturbed by what he saw, he named them the Martians. Not as a joke. He genuinely did not know what else to call them. What you just saw was painted in the Sahara, carved in Turkey, cast in gold in Colombia, drawn in Australia, and documented in Egypt. 5 completely different civilizations, 5 completely different time periods, 0 contact with each other. And they all drew the same thing. Today we're going through every single one of these artifacts. The history, the evidence, what scientists actually say, and what they conveniently leave out. By the end of this video, you're going to have a hard time sleeping. And you're going to have an even harder time explaining this away. Let's go. Before we get into this, I want to be straight with you. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat. I'm not trying to sell you a course on how to contact aliens. What I am going to do is show you real artifacts, real museums, real academic papers, and real quotes from real archaeologists and historians who looked at these things and went, yeah, we actually don't know. Because here's what drives me insane about this topic. Mainstream media treats this like it's crazy, like you're dumb for even asking the question. But in 2023, a decorated U.S. military intelligence officer named David Grush testified under OATH before Congress that the U.S. government has recovered, quote, non-human biologics from craft not made by human hands. Under oath. Before Congress. On camera. So if the U.S. government is now admitting something is going on up there, maybe it's worth looking at what ancient humans were seeing down here. Thousands of years ago. We've got 5 stops today. 5 artifacts. 5 civilizations. And I promise you, by stop 3, you're going to be texting someone about this video. Share it before you finish it. Trust me. Alright, stop number 1. The Sahara Desert. Modern-day Algeria. 8,000 years ago. Now, when most people think of the Sahara, they think of nothing. Just endless sand. But 10,000 years ago, this region was green. It had lakes, animals, and people. Lots of people. And those people were prolific artists. The Tassili Plateau contains over 30,000 cave paintings and rock engravings. 30,000. It's one of the most significant prehistoric art sites on the entire planet. UNESCO made it a World Heritage Site. This is not fringe stuff. This is textbook archaeology. But buried inside those 30,000 images is something that doesn't fit. The round heads, named because they have perfectly circular, featureless heads. No mouth, no nose, no recognizable facial features, just a round helmet-like structure. But look closer. These beings are wearing what appear to be suits, structured, form-fitting suits. Some of them have antennae. Some appear to have breathing apparatus around their heads. And they're depicted floating, not standing, floating. Now here's what's interesting. The rest of the art from this period, totally normal. You've got cattle, giraffes, people dancing, people hunting, normal human figures with normal proportions. And then you have these, in a completely different style, with a completely different anatomy, painted by the same hands, in the same caves. Henri Lot, the French explorer who brought these to the world's attention, wrote that the figures defied any categorization he knew. He spent years trying to explain them within the context of known mythology and came up empty. The official explanation from most archaeologists: shamanic ritual. The round heads represent spirits or religious visions induced by hallucinogenic plants. Okay, sure, maybe, but here's my problem with that. When you take a hallucinogen and draw what you see, you draw something influenced by your world, your animals, your environment, your human experience. These ancient Saharans drew things that look like astronauts. In 8000 BC. Before metal, before wheels, before written language. I'm not saying it's aliens. I'm saying, somebody draw me a better explanation, because they were on mushrooms isn't cutting it for me. And this is just stop 1. We're moving from prehistoric cave paintings to something carved in stone. Ancient Turkey. And this one is different because it doesn't just show beings. It shows a craft. The Göbekli Tepe region of Turkey is already one of the most mind-bending archaeological sites on Earth. We're talking about a temple complex built 12,000 years ago. That's 7,000 years before the pyramids. Built by people who supposedly hadn't invented agriculture yet. Archaeologists genuinely do not understand how it was built or why, or by whom at the level of sophistication it required. The mainstream answer is basically, we don't know. But nearby, in the broader region of ancient Anatolia, there are carved stone reliefs that have been generating serious debate. Depictions of disc-shaped objects, structured craft with defined geometry, not birds, not the sun, not clouds. Look at the symmetry. Look at the intentionality of this carving. This isn't abstract art. Whoever made this was trying to depict something specific. Something they observed. What's fascinating about the Turkish connection is that ancient Anatolian texts, some of the oldest written records we have, contain references to beings who descended from the heavens in glowing vessels. The Sumerians, who were neighbors, had entire pantheons built around gods who came from the sky and taught humans agriculture, mathematics, and astronomy. The Anunnaki. You've probably heard of them. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Zecharia Sitchin, a controversial but widely read scholar, spent decades translating Sumerian cuneiform tablets. His conclusion was that the Anunnaki were not gods. They were extraterrestrials, and the Sumerians weren't worshipping them out of superstition. They were documenting an actual historical encounter. Mainstream academia rejects Sitchin hard, but mainstream academia also couldn't explain Göbekli until they dug it up. And they still can't fully explain it. There's a pattern here. We're seeing it already. Official explanation. Myth, religion, metaphor. Unofficial problem. The specificity is too precise for myth. The detail is too technical for metaphor. Keep that in mind. We've got 3 more stops. Okay, this is where it stops being abstract. Because everything so far has been paintings and carvings. Things that require interpretation. Things where someone can say, well, it looks like an astronaut, but maybe it's just their art style. Fine, I get it. But what we're about to look at is a physical object. A 3-dimensional, manufactured, gold artifact. And there is no interpretation needed. You look at it and you know exactly what it is. This is a Quimbaya artifact, found in Colombia, made by the Quimbaya civilization somewhere between 500 and 800 AD. It's made of gold. It's about 2 inches long, and it is sitting in the Gold Museum in Bogota, Colombia right now. You can go see it. Official classification from Colombian archaeologists. Zoomorphic figure, meaning an animal. That is a plane. It has a fuselage. It has wings with an upward dihedral angle. That's the technical term for wings that tilt upward, which is a feature of modern aircraft for aerodynamic stability. It has a vertical stabilizer. It has a horizontal tail fin. It has a cockpit-like structure at the front. In the 1990s, 2 German aeronautical engineers, Peter Belting and Konrad Lubbers, took the Quimbaya artifact, scaled it up, added a standard propulsion engine, and flew it. Flew perfectly. Stable, controlled flight. No modifications to the design. No adjustments to the aerodynamics. Just scale it up, add an engine, and it flies like a modern aircraft. Now, the Quimbaya people had no concept of powered flight. They had no knowledge of aerodynamics as a science. They had no way to test a flying object. So how did they design something that works? The zoomorphic explanation, the "it's just a weird fish or bird" explanation, falls apart the second you look at it from an engineering standpoint. Fish don't have vertical stabilizers. Birds don't have fuselages with that geometry. No creature in nature has that exact aerodynamic profile. Someone showed the Quimbaya what an aircraft looked like, and they recreated it in gold. Who showed them? Next stop. We're going to Australia now. And this one is different from all the others because it's not just ancient art. It's a living tradition. The Wandjina are figures from Aboriginal Australian mythology. They appear in rock art across the Kimberley region of Western Australia, and some of these paintings are estimated to be between 3,500 and 5,000 years old. But here's what's remarkable. The Wandjina are still painted today by Aboriginal artists, following traditions passed down for thousands of years without interruption. This is one of the longest continuously maintained artistic and spiritual traditions on Earth. Look at them. Large, round heads, huge, dark eyes, no mouth, white halo-like headgear that frames the face, a structured suit covering the body. The Aboriginal people described the Wandjina as sky beings who came from the clouds and the Milky Way. They brought rain. They shaped the land. They taught the Aboriginal people how to live. And then they left and said they would return. Now, the official explanation is that the Wandjina are cloud and rain spirits. The halo represents lightning and storm clouds. The large eyes represent the sky. The lack of a mouth is because the Wandjina are so powerful. If they had a mouth, the rain would never stop. That's beautiful mythology. I'm not dismissing it. But compare the Wandjina to the Tassili roundheads. Compare them to the ancient Sumerian sky gods. Compare them to descriptions across cultures, beings that descend from above, impart knowledge, and depart. The Greeks had gods who descended from Olympus. The Mayans had Kukulkan descending from the sky. The Dogon tribe in Mali somehow knew about Sirius B, a star that wasn't discovered by modern astronomy until 1970, and said beings from that star system visited them. Across every culture, on every continent, going back thousands of years, sky beings. Coming down, teaching, leaving. At what point does a universal pattern stop being coincidence? One more stop, and this one has a paper trail. The year is 1440 BC. Pharaoh Thutmose III is ruling Egypt at the height of its power, and scribes in his court record something in their annals, a document that would be lost for over 3,000 years, and when it was found again, it would generate one of the most heated debates in modern Egyptology. The Tulli Papyrus, named after Alberto Tulli, the director of the Egyptian section of the Vatican Museum, who reportedly discovered it in an antique shop in Cairo in 1933. He couldn't afford to buy the original, so he had it hand-copied. That copy was later translated by Prince Boris de Requelts, an Italian scholar, in the 1950s. The translation describes, and I want you to really listen to this, in the year 22 of the third month of winter, 6th hour of the day, the scribes of the House of Life found it was a circle of fire that was coming in the sky. It had no head. The breath of its mouth had a foul odor. Its body was 1 rod long and 1 rod wide. It had no voice. Their hearts became confused through it, and then they laid themselves on their bellies. They went to the Pharaoh to report it. His Majesty ordered an examination of all which is written in the papyrus rolls of the House of Life. His Majesty meditated on all these events which were now going on. After some days had passed, these things became more numerous in the skies than ever. They shined more in the sky than the brightness of the sun, and extended to the limits of the 4 supports of the heavens. Elevated was the position of the fire circles. The army of the Pharaoh looked on with his Majesty in their midst. It was after supper. The fire circles ascended higher in the sky towards the south. Fishes and birds then fell down from the sky. A marvel never occurred since the foundation of this country. That is an ancient Egyptian government document. Not mythology, not religious text. A scribe's official record, submitted to the Pharaoh, investigated by his scholars, witnessed by his army, describing structured objects in the sky, emitting no sound, moving in formation, ascending, and causing widespread disruption to wildlife. That is a UAP incident report, written 3,460 years ago. Now, the Tulli Papyrus is controversial. The original has never been found. The Vatican Museum denies having it in their records. Some scholars question the translation. Some believe it was a mistranslation of a meteor shower. But here's the thing. The US government spent decades telling us there were no UFOs. No evidence. No credible sightings. Nothing worth investigating. Then in 2023, David Grush testified before Congress about recovered non-human craft in 2024. NASA formed its own UAP task force in 2025. Multiple allied governments released classified UFO files. So, when the government story changes this dramatically in the span of 5 years, how confident are we in the official? It was just a meteor explanation for a document from 1440 BC. 8,000 years ago, in the Sahara Desert, someone climbed into a cave and painted beings that look like astronauts. 12,000 years ago in Turkey, someone carved disc-shaped craft into stone. At a site so advanced we still don't understand how it was built. 1,500 years ago in Colombia, someone cast a perfect aerodynamic aircraft in gold. A design that actually flies, with no scientific framework to create it. 5,000 years ago in Australia, sky beings descended from the Milky Way, taught humanity and left, and people are still painting them today. And in 1440 BC, The Egyptian government filed an official report about unidentified craft flying information over the pharaoh's army that I don't know what any of this means. I want to be honest about that. Maybe it's all coincidence. Maybe it's shared human psychology projecting the divine onto the unknown. Maybe ancient people saw natural phenomena they couldn't explain and the only language they had was art and myth. Maybe or maybe we are not, and have never been, alone. And the oldest records of that truth aren't in government vaults or classified files, that they're on cave walls, carved in stone, cast in gold, painted generation after generation by people who saw something and refused to let the world forget it. The question isn't whether ancient people encountered something extraordinary. The question is whether we are finally ready to take them seriously. Tell me in the comments which one of these 5 convinced you the most, and which one do you have an explanation for? Because I genuinely want to know. Drop it below. If this video made you think, share it. Send it to that one friend who thinks you're crazy for caring about this stuff. Let them watch it and then tell you you're crazy. I'll see you in the next one.